years in the food service industry, I have never seen such an anticipated grand opening ever. I mean, we blew up Facebook, Twitter. We got requests for interviews months ago, news stations, we kept putting them off. Then somehow Irma showed up and didn't help anything much, but we're finally open. So this location may be familiar to you because 5 years ago we opened our first ITB cafe here, and it wasn't quite the hype that this one is, but times have changed. And inside the box is now at Tampa International Airport. We're at the Tampa Times building, we're at Tampa Prep, and we're at another highly anticipated location opening up, the Heights Market at Armature Works. So Inside the Box is excited to be there. And then also we have a great growing catering business. So I just want to point out my Director of Food Service, Louis Soto, and Chef Eric Champagne. Their main jobs are to keep me out of the kitchen. So yeah, so it's great to have them there. But all of it is driven by the desire to give our culinary students a better education, more skills, so they can become employable and then become self-sufficient. I mean, that's what the ministry's mission statement is all about. Of course, none of it wouldn't have happened without our longtime board member at Metropolitan Ministries, Bob Basham. He blessed us with this location 5 years ago, and he has been part of this new process. So when we decided to close this location, because we were opening up at some nearby locations, Tim and I went to see Bob at his office to let him know we were going to close, and I thought he was going to be excited so he could rent it out and make some money for a change. But that's not how the way Bob works. So he says, hey, I heard about this new craze up in New York, this cookie dough. He said, why don't you try making some and see if that would work? And so someone told me that if Bob gives you an idea, you'd be a fool not to try it. So me and my team went to work, we made up some cookie dough, and we had the music festival, Gasparilla Music Festival coming up, and we said, let's try it there. So we tried it there. We had lines of like 30 people deep. And all the other vendors are standing there looking at us like, really, cookie dough? And yes, it is cookie dough. So the next week I showed up at PDQ headquarters with some samples. I figured I don't need an appointment with Bob, I just have samples. So, and they put me right in, and I think Bob was surprised that we actually made some, and then we actually test marketed it too. And after he tasted it, that's when the ball really got rolling. So personally, it's been a real blessing for me to be able to work with someone of Bob's caliber on this. I thought he was just going to say, great idea, go run with it. But he's been hands-on this whole time. In fact, he's the one that picked out the name from the list. And Tim and I, unfortunately, didn't get the tie-in between donation and Metro because we'd seen so many names, and he pointed it out, and we're like, that's why you're where you are. So, for sure. So, Bob, once again, we just want to thank you for all you've done to help us here at Donation and at Metropolitan Ministries. So that's the story. That's how Donation was born. But, you know, at Metropolitan Ministries, there's always a story. It doesn't end there. So I was interviewing, I think last October, I was interviewing for a big catering job. We had a 2-day job down at the convention center area. We needed a lot of servers, so we hired a bunch of our residents to do it. So I was interviewing residents, and I got one resident that came to me, Christiana, and I looked at her resume. She brought her resume, and I looked at it, and she had went to Cordon Bleu in Chicago and had a degree in pastry. And I was like, I never saw that coming. So I hired her for the event, and then I immediately hired her after the event to work at Inside the Box doing all our desserts. And it turns out now she makes all the cookie dough. So ladies and gentlemen, our cookie dough master, Christiana Eckelberg.
Well, he just told half my story of how I started here. So, You ever feel like when you're cooking or baking, nothing works out?
Yes.
We're having that right now in the kitchen.
Well, my life was like that in a matter of days. Sorry. In March of 2006, my life took a turn. I come from a domestic violence relationship. It was very verbal. Then that month was the first and last time he hit me. I looked at my daughter and I said, no more. It came to the point where I was living paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out to pay my car insurance, lose my license, lose my job, lose where we were living. Someone told me about Metropolitan Ministries in Pasco County. I went there and I filled out the paperwork, and then they asked me, are you willing to relocate to the Tampa campus? I said anything for my daughter. We went there and spent all day waiting, filled out all the paperwork, and they said, okay, there's gonna be a waiting list. So I was still in the pickle that I was in. Then a couple days later, I'm at work and I get a call, can you move in tonight or tomorrow morning? And I was like, I'll be there tomorrow morning. I moved in July 22nd, 2016. I didn't know anybody and I needed to find somebody to watch my daughter because I worked nights at the time. One mom offered and I was very grateful. Well, one day I was sitting in the cafeteria and this mom came up to my table with her son and said, hey, I heard you needed a sitter, I can watch her anytime. Well, as a single mom, I was worried, I didn't understand, but I was very grateful. Well, to this day, we're best friends and so are our kids. Well, you think that my life is going good, full-time job, a new friend, a sitter. Well, the cake in the oven got burned once again. I lost my job. I remember being up all night telling myself, I can do this, find a new job. You got a degree from Cordon Bleu, worked for Disney, Orange Lake Resorts, and a bunch of other places. Well, God helped out and put the missing ingredient in my life, and that was Chef Cliff. This month will be my year with Inside the Box. Chef Cliff offered me a job. I got to meet new people in the kitchen that became family. February 17th, I moved my daughter and I out into a 2-bedroom house. Inside the Box has helped me get to where I am today. I'm honored to be here at the opening of donation and be part of an awesome team. So when you think that cake is missing an ingredient, think again. Maybe God has a Chef Cliff, Chef Lewis, Chef Eric waiting to give you hope.
Wow. That's why I have the best job in the world, for sure. So, as Bob is a great leader in our community, we are very blessed in Tampa to have what I feel is the best mayor in the country. And I don't know if there's mayors throughout the world, but if there are, you're probably that too. So we are so blessed. Bob Buckhorn has been a great partner of Metropolitan Ministries and a great partner for the Tampa Bay community. So we're so thankful you could make it today in your busy schedule. And I know you just showed up to get cookie dough, but I always give Bob the hard part of following a resident. So, so ladies and gentlemen, our Mayor, Bob Buckhorn.
I think he only said that because he knows I only have 18 months left. And I hate coming to these things, Morris, because you do. You put me behind some of the most compelling stories that I ever hear, and I am always awed by their courage because for someone who doesn't speak publicly for a living, they get up there and tell their story in a very genuine fashion, and it surpasses anything I could ever do, even with the gift of blarney that I have been given. Let me first of all thank Metropolitan Ministries, and I'll give you an example of why this community has embraced them the way that they have and why folks like Bob Basham have been such amazing supporters. During this recent weather occurrence that we had, which we, if you have debris in your yard, I'm sorry, we're getting there. We had a situation in Robles Park which is one of our public housing projects. They had been without power for about 7 days. And that meant that there was no food because all the food had spoiled. That meant that there was no power to charge their cell phones. There was no way to communicate. I was out there the night after the storm, and literally it was so dark I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. And this is a tough public housing project. And we knew that if we didn't get in there and help to feed some of the residents of Robles Park, that there would be a lot of kids and families that would be in a great deal of distress. And so I picked up the phone and I called Tim and I said, Tim, can you guys help? And he said, what do you need? And where do you want us to deliver it? And literally that next couple hours, 500 meals from inside the box, which we were here 5 years ago to open, were delivered to the residents of public housing at Robles Park. They didn't charge us a thing. They just did exactly what they were put on this earth to do. And we are thankful for it. And that's just one example of thousands of examples of where Metropolitan Ministries has gone above and beyond their initial charge and have become great stewards of the heart and soul of this community. This is one more example. This is not just housing people until they get back on their feet. This is giving people hope. This is giving people careers. This is giving people an opportunity to move beyond their circumstances and to become once again productive citizens in this community. That's what the donation is all about. That's what Inside the Box was all about. It is giving people careers and opportunities to do right by their family, to get back on their feet, to get their lives in order, and to once again become the productive citizens that they once were. This makes a difference. It makes a difference in the lives of the people that they serve. It makes a difference in the life of this community. It could not be done without generous benefactors like Bob Basham and hundreds of others that follow Bob's lead in supporting organizations like this. I saw this community's heart during Irma. It's an amazing, amazing city. But thank you to Metropolitan for always filling the void, always stepping up when we need you, and know that you have made a difference in this community, probably more so than any other organization, for people who desperately need your help. Morris, thank you. A life well lived, my friend. Congratulations.